Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Music Talks podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Rose. So if you did check out last week's episode, we did delve into the mainstream aspects of popular music, or rather the philosophy of popular music, how popular music affected the society. I know I did say that I'll come up with a topic title, and I did. That's it. Just be happy with it. Society and popular music. So still following the trend of mainstream music, this week I still have my friend Qisthina on. Hey Qisthina.
Hello.
Yeah. And if you have been a fervent listener of this podcast, I have again Armand Malik, the jazz professional.
Heyo.
Jazz professional
Nice
slash Pokemon trainer, right?
Gotta catch them all.
So following the trend of studying about mainstream music, we are now looking into the underground sort of way, but not like rock or like metal scene or whatever. If you know me well enough, you know that I love the topic of jazz. And since we have these two different heads, not head of the in the industry, as in like two people studying about the different sides of music. So I just thought of bringing them together. So again, I tell you guys, thank you so much for being here today. And we're just going to discuss about this whole problem statement. Okay? It's a problem statement, how I just like randomly called them up one day and just like I was just like Dr. Brown, Emmett Brown from Back to the Future, and just like, guys, I have a theory of why jazz can't be popular music. So yeah. Okay, so let's start it off. Qisthina, let me just pick your brain on this one. Mainstream music has to be referred to as popular music. It's consumed in Spotify, on Apple Music, on iTunes, or whatever you create, you put online, right? And because of all these regulations on these contracts, all these official registrations and everything, it needs to be original music. You can't plagiarize, you can't pirate it, you can't create. Is that true?
Yeah. If you want to distribute it, it must be an original work that was not copied. Unless there's a few regulations in which you can do a reproduction of others' work, but usually what happens, people will usually upload their original work. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll get to that in a minute. And Arman, on the jazz side, musicians and players just generally use solos, leitmotifs, licks, and just like you mentioned last time, quotations. You just quote from familiar music, which is a common habit. So that's like undeniably true, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. Quotation in the art of improvisation goes way back during the inception of the music, because what you essentially have is you need somewhat of a common language, or it's one of those, it's like meme culture back in the turn of the century at around the 1900s, where like when you're hearing this new kind of music, it's especially jazz as a new music at the time, you need some sort of familiar phrases or vocabulary that people already know, like probably quoting something from classical works like a Mozart concerto or a Beethoven symphony, like just 1 or 5 notes that make it almost it's one of those devices that captivate or engage the listener, as if it's making a reference. That's meme culture for the 1900s. That's like, I guess that's how you can sum up quoting.
Yeah, and that's a very good way to put it. Meme culture. So if you can follow this train of thought, my theory for the reason that jazz can never be popular music is exactly with this contradiction. I've been asked before why. It's more of a debating question, more of a thought-provoking question rather than finding an actual answer question. Why jazz could never become popular music or mainstream music today? And back in the day, like I said, if you did delve into the episode before, we were always talking about music has a function. And back in the day, jazz was used to promote a sort of message, a form of rebellion. Again, we won't go into the whole history of why jazz came alive. People starting with like blues and then ragtime and so on to rebel against the oppressive authority that was held against the African Americans back in the day. But with this train of thought, don't you guys think that because of this whole culture of I'm going to take this solo, I'm going to play this solo, I'm going to that's already copyright infringement. And then you go somewhere else and then that's also another copyright. So you're paying like $10,000 like fines, like left, right, and center. So it can never be official mainstream music. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this?
Okay. So you guys are saying like when you guys are doing the solo part, it's a kind of, if the modern would say kind of ad lib, it's a improvisation, right? Then suddenly you guys bring the what you say just now, the quotation from the music that you used to listen to, but even from the mainstream styles, everything that you perform live, it is fine to have to do an improvisation on the spot because it is not something you recorded. There's no specific clearance or payments that need to be done there, and it is fine actually to perform it like that. But from Bobby, what the thing that you asked about why jazz cannot be popular mainstream because of that things, I am not really sure with that because the case is different. I think because jazz is something that every time it's being performed, it's something new. It's being something new to create something new. But what in the mainstream is usually something that already fixed. We hear it like that, or usually happen like that. Unless on the live performance, it's only a bit different when, for example, on NJL, they did a bit of different arrangement, something like that. Which is, in this case, it can refer to the jazz side also. Which like, for the live performance, they did a different arrangement, a different style that from the original musical work. So yeah, I'm going on the loop right now. I'm not really answering your question.
Bit waffling.
Yeah. So let me ask you a very simple question. What can be used?
What can be used?
Yeah, I mean like what actually allows Maroon 5 Memories. They took that River Flows Into You. No, not River Flows Into You. I can't remember the name of this.
Canon indie, is it?
Canon. There you go.
That can be most of the industry people use it as they will call it as a reference. They will pay a certain fee to the original composer, in which actually they are adding the original composer name into their songs. So the original composer actually have a share on the new song because they are using the melody line from the original composer. So this is called as what they say we call as reference, but actually it's kind of like the popular word would be samples. They were saying like they're taking the samples. Yeah, so they will be using it. So the things will be the original composer will have a share on the song.
So Adam Levine just called the original composer and just like, hey, you're gonna get more royalty, man. Just like extra 25, something like that, right? I mean, like hypothetically.
Yeah, but supposedly something like that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So Armand.
Yes.
What's the culture on recording jazz performances? Like Qisthina did mention about it has to be recorded if you're performing it live. It's not really.
Yeah. It is fine for an improvisation or a new arrangement. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So how does the culture of recording jazz music work?
Well, the concept of recording jazz works is the same as recording live performances, at least in most cases, because you're improvising. And when you improvise, it is not something necessarily premeditated. It's half premeditating, like half preparation and half spontaneity, like the creative side, where the preparation comes in when it comes to like knowing the chords to a song, or having a certain melodic concept or a theme that you want to go and develop upon. And then when it gets to the creative part, when you actually play the music, sometimes the ideas that you already had premeditated in your head don't come out the same way, maybe not 100%. And then the quoting comes in, because if it's in the case of a single instrumentalist who's quoting a line that, you know, it doesn't really justify the grounds for it to seek a license or infringe. It doesn't justify anything to like it doesn't require you to get a license for copyright, because it is essentially you're playing the melody, but it doesn't fully represent the song that you're plagiarizing or quoting. Because like in my experience, in order for you to actually infringe copyright of an existing work of other people's IP, you would have to actually have this essentially the same instrumentation, like that includes the beat underneath it, the harmony below it, and as well as the melody in its original instrumentation. So like if it's just a saxophonist or a trumpeter quoting a pop song, it's even like whether it's in or out of public domain, it's not justification enough for it to be sued, for a performance to be sued, because again, the spontaneous side of improvisation sort of forgives that, because you like half the time you don't, like nobody or no jazz musician ever goes into thinking, I'm gonna quote that Maroon 5 song, I'm gonna throw in a bit of that. No, it's sort of, it comes spontaneously and it comes at the spirit of the moment, which is what jazz is essentially about. It's like rap. Rap is essentially another African American culture and art form that uses spontaneity, but on the level in where it uses verses and words, spontaneously coming up with rhyme and commentary in the form of in verbal form, as opposed to instrumental melodic form.
Awesome. And I know for a fact that that's not really accurate, right? There is a law nowadays that you can't even quote, you can't even borrow. When you play even a part of a song, it doesn't need like what Armand was saying, like the rhythm, the beat, the harmony on top of it. But essentially, a song exists based on its original melody, right? Isn't that right?
Okay, let me get that. The IP actually is belong to the melody line, the main melody of the song, because the arrangement, I'm not sure about overseas, but in Malaysia, there's no royalty, or there's no I would say there's no copyright for arrangements. So if like in a song, and you quoting the background, the instrument arrangement, for example, there's a melody singing at the front, and there's a nice instrument line at the back, and you're quoting that is fine, because arrangement do not have any copyright or royalties, but it's the main melody line. For example, just now Bobby said that Canon Indie, da, 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 that is the main melody line. So if you are quoting that is already considered as a plagiarism or something like that. Yeah, because that's why it's very complicated. I know that how that the jazz side work, like you guys this is spontaneous thing that you guys is not planning, is in the mood. Sometimes you just perform and suddenly it's leading to that, quoting that song or quoting that song. But yeah, that is the complicated part, because in mainstream and all, there is once you perform a melody from one song that already exists, it's already considered as plagiarism, no matter how long or short is it.
Okay, so if that's the case, right, does that mean I know one of your tasks at work is you go around listening to watch this film if they play this song. watch this film.
Yeah.
So if you have like 100 people, 100 songwriters, 100 composers under your care at the company, so your job is to go through this whole new movie and say, oh, in minute 58, they played this song under songwriter A. So, we have to call them up, they have to pay royalty or whatever. Do you actually do that for like even jazz works? Or is there somebody, a hypothetical person that will go around and listen to Armand Malik's performance, suddenly having P. Ramlee's line that goes like, as he is soloing, suddenly, so is there somebody who might do that?
In my experience, I don't think anyone in the jazz community, well, I'm sure there are, but no one I've met or no one that there hasn't been made prominent an issue where record label owners are that pedantic with, especially when it comes, or anyone that's particular about sourcing or sussing out infringed or quoted IP, because one for a number of reasons. One, jazz is evolving in its own form. It's no longer, it still is, but it's no longer a mainstream counterculture as it would, like as it was back then. For, I guess, today's counterculture is probably music like rap, or rap and hip hop. Whereas jazz now, they've probably everyone's come up with their own sounds. It sounds more like, in my experience, it sounds more like a parody of cinema soundtracks, movie OSTs than it is counterculturing jazz music. So, and
it's become part of the entertainment industry.
Yeah, it is pretty much, because jazz like any other music has evolved in aesthetically over decades, just like any other music. So the point where like what was aesthetically mainstream back in the 50s is more commercially viable now in the present day, simply because it's not as relevant. It's just a reference or reminiscent of a bygone period. So it's like it takes like another 50 or 70 years for it to be socially acceptable and palatable.
Yeah.
So I think I've got off tangent. What was the question?
Do you think somebody out there actually goes around like going through jazz performances, jazz recordings, and spotting those plagiarized solo lines?
There are, but I have two, but the problem is there are too many works out there created jazz, like especially with platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and two, with music created based on just the 12-note system and the copyright infringement based on that equal temperament 12-note system, there are too few notes.
It's finite
to plagiarize it's finite. Like at some point we will run out of original musical ideas, yet music has evolved out of copying each other. Musicians have created music by stealing or getting inspiration from other musicians. So just to summarize, you have far too many musical styles and works out in the open, built and written upon very few variety and choices of notes, and few permutations. Like we only have 12 notes. So at some point, the pursuit of copyright infringement becomes a weary and unnecessary expenditure of energy and time. Yeah, it's just too difficult to police naturally.
Well, that is true actually, yeah. But as for if just now you say that we go around searching for song, if we do have a songwriter who in the jazz field, he composed his own song, we still monitor if he perform. We ask him around if his song was played in the movie, and I will still monitor. But if you're saying that we are monitoring the person who are performing and suddenly quoting during their solos or something, quoting other people, I would say I don't think there's a person who go there, because like you say, jazz is not a mainstream in Malaysia right now, and most people in the industry, we don't even know where is the platform of these jazz people. Like this is for no, I'm sorry for that. No, I'm this is what Armand needs to know. There's a difference for label and publishing word. For publishing, okay, for just now, I say when you guys perform it's live, it's fine, because the label cannot touch. When you perform it live, the label only hold the master recording, something that has been recorded. If you go to the concert and you suddenly play the recorded while you're just miming or something like that, yeah, that's when the label goes in. But if you perform it live, it's already not a master recording already. So it's only belong to the publisher, which is relating to the composer and author of the song. So that's why, yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. So when you want to perform live, when you want to, for example, you make a cover or something, you want to perform live, you don't have to go through clearance with the label, but you have to go through clearance with the songwriter, which is also the publisher. Like you have to go, if they have a publisher, you have to go to publisher. But if like say you guys are performing your own song and suddenly at the solo part you are quoting other people's song, I think I can say I can sure of this that no publisher know about this, because what our publisher in Malaysia is still kind of still growing. I would say still growing, and even my job, mostly what we are doing, what we are monitor is all digital right now. We are watching the YouTube. There's someone upload a concert and in people using a concert or something like that, but we never go down to the field while going to a concert and listen to it. We only know if we do have a songwriter, our songwriter who perform a concert, we will ask them for the list that perform the song that they are performing. That's all. So we don't really go one concert and suddenly they're quoting our song. No, that
not yet.
doesn't happen.
No, of course, yeah, that's very understandable, because I mean it's easier to police recorded performances, because essentially you're putting out something that can be, because as an artist you're putting out something that can be replayed over and over, and it is, and whatever material that's or music ideas that's on there, whether plagiarized or original, it has you have the choice whether to keep it in and risk infringement, or edit it out and not, and just basically omit it from public domain, public
domain,
exposure.
Yeah. But it's true about the point that you say that all songs are actually kind of referring each other right now. Actually, that is quite the same. They are saying that the plagiarism, as long as you heard the song or it sounds similar, it's called plagiarism. But if it is defined, actually you can use same melody line but different arrangement. It's already sound kind of different. That can still consider fine line. That can still okay, because we like you say, there's no like really new music right now. Every music you got reference from there. So there's always some similarity in each song. So yeah.
And it's true when you put it that way. You can just take the same melody, whatever melody that was made, and then you just change it a bit. And I know, for example, if I write a book, it's if I write a book and I say, no, I'm talking about harmony, the theory of music, and blah blah blah, and there's only a finite number of melodies that can be created from the 12-tone system. That I will be almost touching that infringement part. So I have to avoid the plagiarism by saying Armand Malik said that there's a finite amount of melodies. Or
an argument.
Or I can like literally quote Armand Malik. There's a finite number of melodies that can be created, and then in bracket Armand Malik, and then at the very least I exercise he gets to exercise his moral rights, if not his economic rights, right? So like the financial aspect of it. But there is still somebody who would check that, this guy actually said at this time from his TED talk back in 2005. Now it's 2021, you're writing this book, and you can sort of still tie it together.
You touched on a very interesting topic about recording or paraphrasing, I would say, in essence, essentially paraphrasing musical ideas. Where, okay, so this is interesting because ouch. As I was saying, back in the 1940s, during the bebop era, the era of Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, because bebop didn't essentially have its own original it didn't have its own original repertoire developed from scratch. It actually the repertoire of bebop jazz was built upon the harmonic framework of existing songs at the time. Exactly. So let's say, this is like what Cherokee. We call like Cherokee. Okay, based on Cherokee, or like this is what we call contrafacts. This is it's a way, it's a loophole that jazz musicians exploited by taking the harmonic framework or chords of an existing popular song and reharmonizing it and adding a new melody on top of it. So like with Cherokee, you have Coco, which is essentially Cherokee, Ray Noble's Cherokee, but it's like played 3 times as fast.
Double time,
and with double time, and like the chords are just harmonized 3 or 4 times over, and based on the jazz understanding of reharmonization. So it's not something. So having a run-ins with copyright infringement is not something new for jazz musicians. We've always found ways to create music, albeit through exploiting loopholes. So considering the Malaysian publishing sector is not as developed, it's still a way for us to exploit. We'll find ways to prosper economically.
Okay, so that's a fair way to put that, to explain about soloing and quoting from other people, especially with the fact that you said like you can record it and there are a lot of works, but even when you put it out on YouTube, on Spotify, it's still not as widely received or like widely consumed by the general public compared to like mainstream music. So now, what about actual mainstream music? Because I know the other face of jazz is taking an already existing piece of work and just, it's a nice egg, and then you just beat it and it just comes out the other side in like a whole different, like you recently worked on one of P. Ramlee's songs, right? With your orchestra at Sarawak. How does that work? Talking about this music business side.
Oh, okay. When we performed Guitar and Jiwa, and when I arranged it, it was for state functions, for government. Yeah. So like, I guess it's a really interesting case where if you're performing a piece of music as requested by a minister, like essentially like we're being paid off by the government, who asks us to perform these songs, like even though they're not mine. Obviously I don't claim to own P. Ramlee's music, but it's something that never crossed my mind, because I figured like if the state government is sponsoring or paying me to write and perform music for them, then like I guess I suppose the copyright stuff, if there's any infringement, that will be on them rather than us, because I'm commissioned by a higher authority as opposed to a public entity.
This is literally like, why'd you play that? He told me to.
Yeah, that's it essentially, because like
Armand, tell us more, but later on I'm going to cut in on that. Okay, go on.
Okay, so like I have no experience of any interventions on copyright, because I've had it recorded and played for RTM. I've had it played on TV. I've had it played for the Prime Minister. Like Like I'm talking about like playing in front of our like the highest ranking official, and nothing, like nobody got sued. I mean, we
You
played other stuff like pop songs, not even our own stuff. I even played Ain't No Mountain High Enough and what's that one called? Say a Little Prayer, Aretha Franklin. Like
and
no,
Yellow's
like
Coldplay,
no
you
red
know.
flags. No, yeah, no red flags, no thing whatsoever. So like if I were if you were if I knew any better, I'd say like there's not much policing going on there.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
see,
all I'm
that's the
saying.
thing. Like you know, until midnight, you were burning the midnight oil with Adin right next to you. You guys are riding this
Mhm.
course, and like, somebody might just come and sue us, and you're just like, nah. I don't know. I always wondered how it actually works when it comes to claiming this version of the song for yourself,
Mhm.
because I know that remastering is a whole different ballgame, which I'm sure
Mhm.
Qisthina can enlighten us on. But
Mhm.
that mindset of don't worry about it, we won't get caught. I feel like that's something that we should delve into as well. What do you think, Qisthina?
Yeah, okay. First thing first, I have a lot to
Okay,
say about what you're
I'm
saying.
gonna get roasted.
You're making the arrangement, exactly. It's for the government. And as you say, the government need to do all the clearance because right now it's kind of like if we say by the law you are doing a labor work. You're being paid to do what you do, to do the
Mhm.
arrangement. You do not touch
Mhm.
on the clearance thing or anything. That is their side. Which
Mhm.
supposedly, yeah, the government need to do the clearance. And
Mhm.
like you say, it's a pyramid song. Currently, pyramid song is still not a public domain. So there's still a
Yep.
collection being collected for any pyramid song.
Mhm.
And some of pyramid songs, there's also A.R. Compel, who co-composer or co-author with the song. And
Mhm.
actually, A.R. Compel is under us. So, so yeah,
So that's a big no-no.
that's a big no. Right now, we are fighting to get our share of AR compel. So when you mentioned that, yeah, that is not your fault because it's the government. Like you say before,
Mhm.
you perform at RTM and all, and you worry that if you're gonna get any red flag or you're gonna get caught or something, it's because you perform there. You are a performer. You are being
Mhm.
paid to perform.
Mhm.
The one who the organizer of the event or the show is the one who should be making the clearance. That's why you haven't got any notice or all because it's not your fault. But the
Yep.
organizer, right now, I'm pretty sure sooner or later they will start getting a hello from us. Yeah, that's why you are hearing like there's no police around, right? Actually, the police in the music publishing are trying to growing. That's why I say we are growing. We are starting to take a note. Right now, every time if Shopee started to make a concert, we look, oh, got our song. Hello, you didn't get any clearance. Okay, something like that. So, oh,
Yep.
okay, sorry, I mentioned Shopee. Okay,
No,
for
no, no.
example,
It's fine. It's just of all platforms, and it's true. You know, it's true. Like you could have said, like TikTok has a collaboration or whatever, like the big names in YouTube. Yeah, but it's like you mentioned Shopee, and it's like it took me a second. Like actually, it's true. They actually do
Mhm.
call big names to promote their stuff, and they do have to.
Mhm.
That shows like the amount of success. Anyways, keep going.
yeah,
Mhm.
because they gain viewer, um they gain people who gonna buy on their apps. So it's kind of like they're gaining money from the concert. So why can't they make a clearance for the payment? Because as we know, when a composer making a song or a musical work, they don't get paid for that. So the royalty is actually the gift. Royalty is actually their money. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I mean. That's why we are so fighting about getting the clearance and getting the royalties and all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for both of your thoughts. That actually really helps. Now let me get to a very personal question. Simple but personal question. Based on both of your personal opinions, the personal thoughts, is this important?
Hmm.
Is it
Well, at
important? I
least.
mean, like on Armand's side, is it important to actually, like encourage people to pay to perform? Like tomorrow I wanna perform Piramli song, so I got a plan. I gotta put aside 5,000 ringgit and to actually, because it's good and it encourages the moving that completion of music circle in the Malaysia. But on Qisthina's side, is that actually good? Even though it might deter people, like I want to put on performance, volunteer performance for people who never had opportunity to listen to this music live. Oh no, I don't have that 5,000 ringgit. Too bad. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Where can I find 5,000 ringgit? That's the first thing I have to worry
Exactly my point.
It's not that much.
Oh, okay. Actually, that should be a better question. Like, how much is it actually?
Yeah.
Then let me make it clear first. It depends. It depends on what platform, what geometry are you using. Is it, if you're gonna upload it on YouTube, will you be using it, reveal it to the global or only on Malaysia? If it's a platform, a concert, where will it be performed and all? It depends. The cost depends on the thing, how big the event. Do you gain any income from the event, for example, like that? Like we say, there's a lot of people doing covers on YouTube, but maybe the YouTube channel was not popular enough. I won't say popular enough, do not have enough subscribers to monetize anything. So that person do not gain anything. We don't really bother that type of people who are using. But when they are using and gaining money from it, that is where they should be making a payment to the songwriter. Like you say, is it important? If you are a composer, during you compose, okay, if you are a singer-songwriter, this is very different. If you are a singer-songwriter, you compose a song, you sing, and you might gain from doing the concert, you might gain money from doing the recording of the song. But if you only an author, I would say, you're only an author, you only write the song with no money being paid before that, then when the song comes out, where the song being performed is your IP, right, your musical work. So you should be, yeah, if you're right, you should be getting the payment for that. So yeah, like actually it do not cost that much. If for example, I've asked before, I say that I want to do a new arrangement. Okay, then she already said, okay, that's already cut off the master recording. I do not have to get clearance for that because I'm doing a new arrangement, not the recording one. Okay, then I touch the publishing side. And then I ask, oh, I want to perform live. Is it like something that collect money? Like, is it a concert? No, it's only we are performing for fun, something like that. Not really. It's only like performing, but not any money.
A private event.
A private. No, there's no cost. There's no clearance to be made there. It's fine. But when it's a concert, yeah, there's some clearance need to be. But the clearance, depends on the publisher and the songwriter. Sometimes it can go. As some nice publisher, they will just, how many is your budget? They will look at your budget first. Oh, so how big is the event? Okay, if you could go like it, okay, we can go with like this. As long as there only is the clearance. Some songwriters, they are very kind enough to let it go as free, but that is not the thing that we want to encourage. Yeah, that's not something that we want to encourage. So if that, like the songwriters say that, oh, it's fine, just give them for free, we will at least do a bit of payment, like just some payment, a little bit of payment, just to make it show that there's a clearance. Because we need to be fair for under a publisher. If one of our songwriter give it for free, but the other songwriter need the money, so it's already right, you see. So we need to make it fair for all songwriter in the publisher's house. Yeah. So. Of course, if for the question that you asked, does it matter? For me, representing all my songwriters, yeah, it's very important. It's very matter. Yeah. So how about you, Armand?
Well, I have not gone through the experience of being a composer songwriter yet. I merely make I make a living out of other people's songs by arranging it. Like my strength at the moment is just arranging. So at this point, yeah, I do feel there is some importance to legitimizing and acknowledging music legally, because Malaysia is on the way there, and that's definitely a vital step we should take. Otherwise, music, whether mainstream or niche, it may not foster a great importance as it would in the US or in other Western countries. Yeah. So long as I can still earn.
Yeah, and so long as the music is actually shared, because this is
Yes.
the difficult thing. I mean, like, if you are viewing this, ladies and gentlemen, if you are viewing this episode or you're listening to this episode as a general audience, you would think that actually, yeah, people need to be paid. If I draw this thing and I give it to Armand, and the Armand just says like, oh, I'm just going to use this for a public performance, and Bobby's not going to get any payment. And then you say like, yeah, I should get paid. That's totally fair. But at the same time, if that keeps happening, the reason I ask you guys is, if that keeps happening, we're going to have a future whereby I don't want to be a musician because it takes a lot of financial upstart. I mean, like, let's not play around. You guys, you both know, you play violin and you play saxophone, respectively. You guys know how much instruments cost. Now imagine the additional amount to actually pay for license, and to pay. It's already expensive to pay for a public event or whatever. Licensing is another cost to think about as a musician. Now, Aman, just a tiny add on to that question. What if you're on the other side? What if you made a song and then I have a band and I want to perform songs by Armand Malik production?
Okay. Well, if you've for me to sue you, I would actually have to have proof that you've performed it. Well, I can't sue you on grounds where you're performing it live and it goes unrecorded. But if you're putting out a video, like, let's say, and then claiming it, I mean, but you don't claim it to be yours, like whether you claim it to be your work or not, I would still, yeah, I could only pursue that on if you were to put something up on YouTube or on social media, because at least there's a more consistent platform. I can still, or on a streaming service. There, it's much easier to police.
Yeah, and it's totally fair. But my question is, if you have made a song, this song called Fried Chicken, and I'm just playing this, and people are like, oh, did you pay for the license? Nah, don't worry about it. He's a friend of mine.
Oh yeah, no, that's not cool.
Yeah, so at that time, like, if that happens in like 5 to 10 years, if I ask you the same question, do you think it matters? Would, at that point in time, do you think you change your mind and say like, oh, and you realize that you're on the receiving end of the consequences?
Yeah, I'd say that. I would definitely have that in mind and have that perspective, come to understand that perspective.
Okay, so now that we've established that, and those grounds, end of the day, it's just a mindset thing. If you appreciate, we're not encouraging for this whatsoever, but if you appreciate, for example, some movies, some films, some series to a high standard, you would pay for the subscriptions of those accounts.
Yep.
But then on the flip side, we do have this mindset whereby if we can pirate it, why not just pirate it? And it happens more often than not. It happens to not just you got. I'm not going to go on record saying that I do, but it happens. The general public, it does happen, at least in Malaysia. So if we can change that mindset, don't you think there will be a higher level of synergy between this jazz side and the publishing side, the jazz performance and the publishing side, so that eventually jazz can in fact be mainstream music, pop music?
Yeah, it can be. So you're saying, wait, so you're trying to tell me that if we get the legalities of music publishing and recording sorted out, essentially codified in local parlance and Malaysian law, it would bring about it would make jazz more mainstream. Is that what you're saying?
When you put it that way, it sounds quite iffy because then the priority sounds like I want to make money from doing the music rather than I want to play the music first and foremost. I want to solo how I want to solo. But if you think about it, if one day we do get to that point where you're doing popular music, you're doing whatever kind of popular music, and then you sample it, you have to pay a certain fee. But if you're a jazz player, there is, I don't know, an updated fine line to the Copyright Act 1987. For jazz genre music, you still have to pay, but it's less. I mean, upon agreement, because like you said, it's not, I don't want to plan to solo this song by Armand Malik, but I just feel like right here, right now, in this split second, I should do that.
Yeah.
And then later on, I would tell my agent, hey, can you just like pass $5 to Armand Malik, guys? But you know, would that actually be
sort of in kind?
I think that's possible. Yeah.
That's possible. Yeah, it's a nice little token. It does. Not everything has to go through paper.
Yeah.
So at least in that sense, the circle of musicians, the songwriters, sampling the other songwriters' work, and all those performers, everybody gets a cut, and everybody gets not only the economic rights are practiced, but the moral rights. Like, once you solo that, that's from my friend, and I settled everything with him. But I played that because in the heat of the moment, I realized that it works. And
Okay.
Any thoughts on this? Like,
well, it would encourage us to play more original, come up with more original ideas, and it can definitely encourage original music making. Or I can always steal from someone else.
Okay.
But the one you say just now is the recording one, right? Yeah, I think it's possible just to But from the paper side, it'd be better if the name of the share wasn't supposed to be big. If you can give a composer share of 1%, so already fine to the friends that you are quoting. I would say,
well, to be honest, like 1% sounds a little when it's compared in a percentage, but like 1% of like R1,000,000, it's quite a bit.
You can even give 0.01%. It's fine. It's on agreement between the two.
But I think when you mention about the paperwork side, I would just think like you said, it's this one line. It's just this one line. So if
you can consider as buying a sample for that, as in like buy off something. There's a word of buy off, which is like they're totally buying the things and then they collect the things. So they call the royalty belongs to them. So you can make a deal of buy off with the person. Usually the buy off should be higher, but in this case, if it's your friend and it's an agreement from both sides, I think it's fine.
Well, that's a whole other discussion. Like, you create your libraries, like you meet 50 different musicians. You say, I want to buy 10 lines from this. So you have a library of 500 melodies.
What if you could, just a suggestion, what if you could have the rights to quote materials from an existing artist? That's like basically issue a license where you can quote essentially quote musical ideas from another artist that he has conceived or published in the past 5 years, or like essentially you have to renew it. Like, let's say in the next 5, like from anything that he composes from the start of his from his first works up until now, like let's say for 5 years you can use his stuff, but then once that's expired, you have to renew it only for you to continue using.
It's a subscription.
The guy's works. Yeah. Subscription.
But it's quite complicated.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, if it comes down to paperwork, I actually did realize this, that I'm not only quoting from this one guy just because you're my friend. I have, musicians being musicians. We have a history of performing. We have all these songs stuck in all these lines, all these leitmotifs, all these melodies stuck in our heads, and we can't depends on our agents how hardworking they are. Like, oh, okay, today this talent quoted from 14 different people. I got to call up these 14 different. If it's like 7 of them are from one agency, 7 of them from another agency. In Malaysia, it's quite simple because it's MACP, so they have 95% market share. So 95% of the time, it's the talents signed under them. But if it's like underground artists, and you got to call up these people and just I don't know. It's, you know what I mean, right, Qisthina? It's very...
But that's the thing, you guys been saying about quoting and soloing and all. Isn't that usually the soloing part is usually the instrument player part, right? It's the instrument player being quoting that thing, right? Like I say, if that's part, actually, give me one example of song that I know, a jazz. A simple one.
From jazz.
Yeah.
Girl from Ipanema.
Yep, exactly.
Sing the melody.
Oh. Girl from Ipanema goes walking.
Okay, that is the melody, right? So that is the main melody of the song. So whatever happened behind it is already considered an arrangement. So when the solo is also can be considered as arrangement. So if you're quoting all of these things during the solo, it's called kind of like arrangement. So it is fine. It's not that there is no plagiarism or copyright being made on that, because it can only cause if da 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 da, and suddenly da 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 da, suddenly you are singing that song. Okay, that can be considered as plagiarism. But if it's on the instrument line, when there's actually a main melody line on the song, so the instrument is already can be considered as the arrangement. So I would say the things that you're quoting on the solo part is already can be considered as arrangement. I believe that is from my understanding, from what I learned, but I'm sorry if I studied it wrong or something, because jazz is not really obviously not my forte, and jazz is not really being known in Malaysia yet. So this complication have never been occurred or been questioned before. So yeah, what usually we say, the instrument line in a song that have a main melody line, the instrument line is already considered as the arrangement.
Okay, so what you're saying is, I can't be sued if I use an existing harmonic framework, meaning
as long as you distort it.
Yeah, as long as I distort it, or if I just detune it down by a few cents, so that just blows the door wide open for 12 notes.
Actually, that's
so essentially, so what I'm saying is, I can't get sued for changing up or borrowing accompaniment. It's just melodies and all that. Melodic lines are sort of sacred ground there. Okay, that's the line I can't cross. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think it's kind of safe for the musician, because musician usually plays the arrangement, and we do have the melody at the behind, right? The one usually happen in the jazz music, or actually most music also. But as long as there actually a main melody line, which usually being led by the singer, and all the back, all the middle and the back is already considered as arrangement, so it's fine. So actually, it's not a risk for the musicians, I think. Yeah.
Good.
That's another project already.
So that's what we are discussing. It's kind of nice how we are talking about jazz and mainstream music. But with current situation in Malaysia right now, they are not really opening yet. I'm not sure yet or what to jazz, but I really hope that jazz music will start to grow and develop in the mainstream music industry in Malaysia. But that's what I hoping for. See more on the platform, on any distribution platform, more of a jazz music, hoping for original jazz music from Malaysian composer and all. So how about you, Armand?
Well, there's this movement going on since the beginning of the year. I'm not sure if you heard about this. It's the Malaysian Real Book Project, where
Yep.
yeah. So that's, I believe it's sponsored or co-run by KL Pack, or the guys over at WVC Trio, Tatius Young. He's kind of spearheading that project, right? If my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
So the way I see it for that is, that's something that I want to get on board and try and push when I go back overseas to do my studies. So when if I would perform, like bring a band, I want to push and market that, not commercially, but essentially have it pushed and advertised in the jazz community, like at large, especially in the United Kingdom. So I'm hoping that can be that can serve as a platform and a catalyst for jazz music to reach a sort of like for Malaysia to develop its own repertoire, its own scene. Essentially, we're not simply playing exported goods. We're actually developing upon what our artists and musicians have already come up with. So hopefully with that can set off a development pace that can rapidly change of the speed of music development in Malaysia. Just like we have our own jazz standards. Like we have Piramli, but then we also have guys coming in, not just local artists, but we also have I believe Patrick Turbrack also has some songs in the Real Book. I'm waiting for my copy. It's taking a while for it to be published, for them to get the licensing and published. So as soon as it's out, I'm gonna be like making arrangements out of that and just performing it as soon as I can.
Yeah. So that was very well said by both of you guys, especially with the hope of where we're going from here on out. Ladies and gentlemen, just letting you know, if you are curious about the Malaysian Real Book that Armand mentioned, you can check out one of the earlier episodes that I actually talked to Lim Li Peng, that works very closely with Michael Veripan, and she's also part of the committee that works on collecting the scores and finalizing the whole Real Book. So if you are interested, you can check it out. So Qisthina, Armand, thank you so much for hanging out today and sharing your thoughts.
No worries.
It does have to be mentioned that the concept of mainstream music, first and foremost, has to be widely accepted, widely consumed by media. It's mainstream because everybody wants it. And especially in today's culture, we do suffer from, the next generation suffers from FOMO, fear of missing out. So the idea is that mainstream anything, if you miss out on it, that fear is you missing out on whatever is mainstream. So jazz isn't really there yet, but the idea that we're talking about is before we go to the mainstream platform, we have to first cross this hurdle. So thank you so much for delving into this topic with us today. We hope you had an amazing time listening to this episode. If you do have any questions relating to the topic we talked about, you can just send us an email and we'll get back to you real quick. So until the next episode, my name is Bobby Rose, and thank you so much. See ya.